Hey everybody, so let me switch screens real quick because I'm not on the right one. We are in week 17 or week 16, I guess, depending on which group you're in. Anyway, on this assignment, you will be working on given one form to find the other forms, and I'm going to very much recommend that as we do this, if I can find it, that we have our map up from your notes on page 17. Okay, and so as I've been in my other classes, we kind of have made some suggestions here of what to do. So as we reach those suggestions, I will go over them in more detail. So let me, explain how this page is going to work. The idea is you're going to work through the blue page first, and then when you're done, you're going to take certain questions and graph them. So this is not for you to do more problems. Problem 2 here is just problem 2 here. So we're going to kind of walk through what you need to do for every question. So in this first problem, which we will not end up graphing, I'm in standard form. If you did have to graph it though, standard form does tell you the y-intercept. And just a reminder, it's 0 and then whatever the c value is at the end. So just looking here, my y-intercept is 0, -42. But now what we're going to do is we're going to get this into factored form and we're going to get it into standard form. So let's start with factored form. So to go from standard form to factored form, we will factor. So this GCF here is just a reminder to always look for a GCF first. So the first thing I'm going to do is I can factor a 2 out of all of those. So I'm going to do that. And this is what I'm left with. And then from there, I'm going to make my x based on what's in the parentheses. So I need factors of -24 that get me to -4, and that would be a 6 and a 2, with the 6 being negative. And now joining the 2 will be my new set of factors. The 2 is the first factor, it's the greatest common factor. I'm going to go ahead and put the x's in there, and x is all I need because x times x is x squared. So now what I can do is do these loops to get these side numbers. And x times what makes -6x, that's a -6, and then x times what here can make that 2x, and that's a +2. So now you have it in factored form, and from there you can find your x-intercepts. And the trick is just do the opposite of what's in the parentheses. It doesn't always work, but it will work here. So this one is -2, 0, and this one is 6, 0. The final thing I'm going to do is put it into vertex form. So if you notice, to get to vertex form, you can only start from standard form. We don't have a branch or a loop that goes this way. So we will be completing the square. Here's an example of it. So the first thing we ever talked about was just putting our x's in parentheses. So I'm going to do that first. And then it's called completing the square because we're going to add a square and then take away a square. Before I can do this though, our example says it has to be an x squared, so I will be taking this 2 out. And the 2 will affect the 8, but it will not affect the 42 because the 42 is not in the parentheses. And now I'm going to take this number and I will always cut it in half. And then I will square that number and I will get 4. And then I'll put a 4 here, and then as it turns out, it's not really worth 4, it's actually worth 8 because of this bunny hop. 2 times 4 is 8. Alright, so from there, I'm going to come up with my vertex form. So 2 starts it in the parentheses squared. I'll have x, and whatever's in front of this squared is what is in front of this squared. And then I'll go to the end and I'll take -42 and subtract 8, which gives me -50. So there's vertex form. And from there I get the vertex of 2, -50. Okay? So let's take a look at the next problem. So the next problem you will be graphing. This is going to start in factored form, which I can immediately go and get my x-intercepts of 1, 0 and -5, 0. And then from there, I need to get standard form and vertex form. So with factored form starting it, the only thing I can do first is standard form. So this is called distributing, what my class calls the neighbors meets the neighbors. So I'm just going to rewrite the problem over here. And I'm going to have x distribute to both of those. So I get x squared and 5x. And then the negative 1 is going to distribute, and I get a negative 1x and a negative 5. So when I'm done, I have x squared plus 4x minus 5. Now that it's in standard form, can't see that, I've got my y-intercept of 0, negative 5. And now I'm ready to find vertex form. So the only way to get to vertex form, again, is by starting in standard form. So I'm going to take my standard form, I'm just going to rewrite it over here. Right, so I'm going to group my x's together, add my square, and then subtract my square. And then this number is taken in half, squared, and I get 4. And this time when I put 4 in there and I check that bunny hop, it's still worth 4. So in parentheses will be x plus 2 with the squared on the outside. There's the squared. And then negative 5 take away 4 is a negative 9. And then from there I can get my vertex of negative 2, negative 9. And now what you're going to do is go to your purple page and you're going to graph this. So just kind of running through the points that we said. Our y-intercept was 0, negative 5. The vertex we just did, that was negative 2, negative 9. And our x-intercepts were 1, 0, and negative 5, 0. So I'm going to go over here to the graph and put those points. So here's my y-intercept. Here's my x-intercept of 1 and negative 5. And then my vertex is negative 2, negative 9, which ends up there. And then to get a nice balanced U, I'm going to draw my line of symmetry through, because then these are symmetrical points or partner points. So I'm going to get this one's, and if this one's 2 over, then I'll go 2 left, and then you can see your U. So then I'm ready to connect my dots to make a U shape. Okay? The last one from there that we'll do together, so not number 4, we're actually going to jump to number 5. And here I'm starting in vertex form. So I've got my vertex of 1, 8. And from there, let's see what we can find. So to get factored form or standard form, if I start with vertex form, the only thing I can do is standard form. And so what I want you to note is that we did a little writing. So first we have this, and I'm going to change it a little bit, and I'm going to put a 5 here. And people are unsure of what to do. So the first thing you're going to do is get rid of the squared, write out the x minus 3 2 times. And from there, you're going to do your parentheses first. Once you have the distributing, or the neighbors meets the neighbors, then you're going to multiply your 2 in. So this is why it's called order of operations, because it's all multiplying. And at the very end, the third step you're going to do is you're going to add that 7. So I'm going to take this, I'm just going to write it over here, but I'm going to write it out into the 2 parentheses, like this. And order of operations, I'm going to be doing the parentheses first. So we're going to distribute or have these neighbors meet, and we're going to get x squared minus 1x. And then when the negative 1 distributes, we get another negative 1x, and then the negative 1 with the negative 1 is the 1. So I'm going to add these up. And then the second thing I want to pay attention to is the number on the outside. So I'm going to drop this 2 down. And now the 2 is going to multiply or distribute to everything, which is going to give me this. Okay. And then the third thing I'm going to deal with is this 7 at the end. So, or not 7 at the end, the 8 at the end here. And from there, I'm going to add these up and just combine these like terms and get 10. So now that it's in standard form, I can see the y-intercept. That's a 0, 10. And finally, I'm going to get it into factored form. So the first step of all factoring is I'm going to GCF. This is what this reminds me of. I'm going to GCF a 2 out of all of these. So here comes the 2. And then when I make my x, I need factors of 5 that get me to -2. And I did some mistake here, so I got to pause for a moment and figure out. Oh, never mind. I know what the mistake was. Sorry, this is my fault. This 8 should have been a negative, and I forgot to correct that. So it's a -8, which actually does not make this 10. It makes it 6, so that changes the y-intercept. Sorry, I know that this is a thing. And then that's going to turn this into a 3. All right, so factors of 3 that get me to -2 are going to be 1x and 3x, with the 3 being negative. So the GCF drops down. Here go my parentheses with an x and an x. And that's all I need. X times x is the x squared, so here go those loops to get the side numbers. So x times what makes 1x, and that's a positive 1. And then x times what makes this -3x, and that's a -3. So from there, I can get my x-intercepts. One's 3, 0, and the other's -1, 0. And then you can go back and graph your points, and that's where I'm going to leave you. I want you to graph your y-intercept, your x-intercepts, and your vertex, and then connect to make your parabola. That's it.